Hey everybody, I'm Jesse, and welcome to another edition of Gen X Thinks. And this will be the second volume of what is Gen X's favorite apocalypse. And I'm going through the list by the order of probability, how likely they are to occur. And the first video I did was on the CME, coronal mass ejection. This one's going to be on virus. We know, we've all lived through the pandemic of 2020. We all know what that was like, so we know what those kind of things are out there. One thing that hits me about viruses is that I read back in the 80s, I read a book by Stephen King called The Stand, and they've made some mini-series about it a couple of times. They've redone them over the years, but Stephen King wrote the book, but he wrote the book in the 70s. And it was about the government cooking up a virus in a lab, and it accidentally escaped and then spread around, and it took out like 90% of the population, something like that, 95, a lot of them. My thoughts on that are, if Stephen King knew about it back in the 70s that they were doing this kind of stuff, 40 years ago, how much has the science progressed? How far have they come now? You know what I'm saying? What are they cooking up now in 2024 that we should be at least concerned about or aware of, that they're doing it? So that kind of stuff makes me think, it makes me think about the probability of something like that happening. Now, in the event of a virus getting out and doing real damage, like the last one was kind of a, I don't know what you want to call it, kind of a dud maybe, I don't know. It did whatever it did. It wasn't concerning to me. I wasn't real worried about it. I will admit that I wore a mask when I was required to. At the doctor's office, they made you wear a mask to go in and get whatever, I forget, my yearly checkup or whatever it was. I put a mask on for that. And other than that, I really wasn't too concerned with it. I wasn't really afraid of the whole situation. A lot of people were, and the older people, rightly so. I mean, it was dangerous to the older people from what I know so far. All the information that's come out since then, it wasn't a real danger to younger people. But that shows that it can happen. Maybe we were just lucky that that didn't do more damage than it did. So, but a lot of people were affected by it. But just imagine that times whatever, 1,000 maybe, or 100,000, something really bad. I think the plague in Europe in the Middle Ages, I think it wiped out like 60%, something around there, of the population. And that is insane. Yeah, that 60% is crazy, because a lot of people just, but eventually the remaining people, the 40% or whatever it is, now don't quote me on the percentage, I might have them backwards, but it was a huge number like that. But anyway, the remaining people had some resistance to it, so it didn't really come back, from what I know. Maybe some other things, and the same thing that happened with American Indians when the Europeans came over with smallpox. When the Europeans came over with smallpox, I forget, I think the number is even higher. It was just really devastating to the native populations. So these things, throughout history, these things aren't unheard of. And if you don't have any natural immunity, if your immune system isn't built up, at least in some kind of efficiency, some kind of defensive posture through interaction with different things, then you might be in trouble, I've never been one to worry too much about diseases and stuff. I have no history of cancer in my family. There's no, history of heart disease or any of that. So I come from a healthy family, basically. There's no real history of this kind of stuff in my family. So I've always just taken that to be that, that genetically I'm pretty safe just from the genetics that I've inherited. So I don't worry about it too much. But when I do that scenario in my head, like, I don't know, maybe some of you do, or maybe I'm just crazy. But I'm always one of the survivors. So I might be the first one to drop if it actually happened. But we can read about history and learn about history and pretty much know what we'll have to deal with in that situation. We'll have a lot of bodies, a lot of bodies that would need to be taken care of, and those would spread disease on their own. So you'd have to be concerned about that. Different diseases and different things, when it comes to that, that's very an unsanitary situation, let's say. That's a problem you wouldn't have to face if you were, if we were hit with a CME or something that did no physical damage to us, to our physical bodies, but only took out our electrical grid. Now, something like an epidemic of some kind would leave a lot of dead people, and then the remaining survivors would have to deal with those dead people. So that's something that you definitely have to have in your mind, in the beginning, and know how you're going to deal with that. And I know this is leading down into darker territory as far as that goes, but it's realistic. I mean, it's something that we would honestly have to deal with. That would probably be our biggest problem for the survivors, would be dealing with that, because unlike the last one, where literally everyone that died, as far as I know, now I could probably do some digging around in the internet and maybe find out that I'm wrong, but not far off. But I would say almost 100% of the people that died from the last one died in hospitals. Which was a little bit strange, but still a real situation where it was just widespread and very deadly. They would be everywhere, in their cars, in their homes, and, it'd just be all over the place. It would be crazy. So we'd have to deal with that. And in this situation, you'd have to worry about other people, but not to the extent that you would with the CME or something, because most of the other people are gone. So you wouldn't have to worry about that as much, but you would have to worry about the things left over that the people can no longer have control of, like nuclear power plants. There would be nobody to take control of them. So I get as far away from that thing as I could, because I don't know what's going to happen when there's nobody left to take care of that and make sure all the settings are right and everything. I don't know. So I wouldn't set up camp right next to one of those things or anything like that, that could be a potential danger that, without people caring for it anymore. So you'd have to think about those kind of things. And depending on where you were, again, the best advice for people in a highly populated area would be to get out of there. Mobilization, again, this theme is going to run completely through every single one of our apocalypse scenarios here. Mobilization. You're gonna have to be mobile to prepare for something like this. You're gonna have to be mobile. And if you're going to prepare for some kind of virus or, epidemic like that, and you're going to go get masks, those little paper flimsy masks are completely garbage. If you're gonna count on those things to protect you, just don't even waste your time. They're not going to protect you. You need watch the military movies and stuff where they have the ones that cover your whole face and they seal along the outside of your face like that against your skin, and then they have the breathing holes like that, and they're filtered. That's the kind you want if you're looking to protect yourself from that kind of thing. that stuff that they were, all those ones that they sold, those were complete garbage. If you've been through any military training, you already know what I'm saying. So I'm talking to the people who've never been in the Army or in the military. So because those of us who have served in the military have already been through biological warfare training, and we already know, if we're not experts in it, but we know more than the average Joe, you know. That's the kind of mask you would want. The thing about that, though, is that the power grid wouldn't go down right away. So you could still probably get gasoline, and, you know, you could still probably get supplies early in the situation and mobilize to get out. So you wouldn't have to worry about, you know, having an older car, or, you know, everything would still work. So that's one plus, one benefit to it. But there are going to be benefits and negatives to every one of these. They're all bad, but some of them are bad in other ways and not so bad in other ways. So, and another thing you might want to have with you is fishing. Fishing is a good way to stay fed. It's just not as difficult as hunting. It's easier to catch a fish, number one. It's easier to clean a fish than it is to clean even a rabbit or even a small animal. It's more difficult to clean those and prepare them to eat than it is a fish. A fish is just easy to clean and cook and all that. So fishing is a good way to keep yourself fed. So fishing supplies would be something you'd want in your go bag, your bug out bag. Another thing you'd want to do is, early in a situation like this, you'd want to be very leery of other people, because they might be carriers. You know, you don't know if they have it. Even if they're immune to it, they might have it. They might carry it, and you might not be immune to it. There's going to be no way to tell whether or not you're immune to it in the beginning of the thing. There's only going to be one way to know, and that's if you're still alive, you know, after you've contracted it, and that's a pretty big gamble. So you're going to want to stay away from people in the beginning and keep your distance from other people. Then you're going to want to find out which animals, dogs, cats, birds, whatever, can contract and spread the disease. So you want to keep your eyes open for that too. And in my opinion, the best plan, if you're able, is to have a place to go at least for a few weeks, like a hunting cabin or something. Go up there for a little while, and then if stuff just washes out and settles down and gets back to normal, you can come back, go back to work, whatever. But if it continues to go south, you're already outside in a safe place, set up, you know, for an extended duration. You're ready. I know many people don't have that luxury, don't have that option, but if you do, that would be the ideal scenario. I would just be ready to go to my secondary, like, you know, camping spot or whatever. You can even take a vacation there once a year and go camping there and be familiar with the area, know where the good fishing is and all that, you know. That would be ideal. That would be an ideal situation to have set up. Because a lot of these scares, just like the last one, and we've had some scares in the past where you don't know, you know, you're kind of wondering, you know, do you sit around and watch everything crumble around you and, you know, and possibly contract the disease yourself, or do you just skedaddle right away? And especially now with cell phone service and all that, you know, we can have Starlink. You can have that Starlink and be connected all over the planet now. So you can literally have internet out there in the woods at your cabin and keep tabs on everything, keep up on all the events. And if stuff starts calming down and getting back to normal, you can just go back home. No big deal. That would be the ideal situation. That would be what I would have set up if I were you. And I'll leave you there. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and comment. If you'd like to support the channel, you can do so by pushing the super thanks button down below this video. If you'd like to support the channel by buying me a cup of coffee, I'll put that link down in the description. If you're interested in Gen X gear, I'll put that link down in the description as well. There's stickers and mugs and sweatshirts, different stuff over there. Pretty interesting. And if you don't want to or can't support the channel in any of those ways, you can do so by sharing these videos on your social media. That helps out a lot. I thank you for doing that. I really appreciate it. And if you have any suggestions for future episodes of Gen X Thinks, please put those down in the comments, or you can email me, and the email address is on the channel page. And as always, stay frosty, Gen X, and I'll see you on the next one.